Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we've got a first for a channel, a new company on board, and that is of course EK. Yes, I know it's not actually EK, it's EKWB, and it's a company that I've been trying to get to work with for a long time, and thanks to Dave over at EK, they finally sent me something over to do a review on, and I couldn't be happier because the product that I have here is the EK Nucleus CR360 AIO in white. EK are a company that are basically renowned for higher class products. They are generally found in the higher price point when it comes to the products that they sell, whether it be fans, coolers, or alternatively obviously the custom water cooling parts. And today I want to find out exactly why they are in the premium price range. So starting off, we get the box. It is nicely presented, nice and clean in white, with nice sharp bold font and imagery, and obviously you've got the information on the back which I'll cover in through this video. To start with, I'm just going to unbox what we have here, see what we've got, and basically give a bit of an overview of everything that's included and some basic specs. In the second part of this video, which is in this video, it's not a two-part video, at the end of this video I'm going to be putting it in a system and I'm going to be putting it to the test so we can find out exactly how well it performs. I've heard big things from the EK Nucleus. Has got a very good standing name in the industry because it is often seen as one of the best, if not the best, AIOs on the market. So we're going to try and find out if that's true. So we're going to start off by opening a box, and straight away you are welcomed to literally a welcome pack. It is very well presented in a nice foam cutout, which I'll show you in a moment. It looks fantastic, and this welcome pack feels nice and premium. Let's get in there and see what you get. Inside you get some lovely flashcards effectively of information about the product, including some QR codes that you can scan, and that will give you some more information about the product. As you can see, there's a bit more, and then there's some information about that, and of course some stickers. The manual is nice and thick, it's nice and detailed, printed very well. It's not coloured, although it does have the orange of EK orange on the top on each part, so that when you're mounting the AIO to your system, the part that is coloured orange is relevant to the step that you're taking. So yeah, that's overall a very nicely presented manual. Look how nice that looks. Everything is in its place, it's all foam cutouts, and it just looks fantastic. I'm a bit of a sucker for a nicely presented box, or well, yeah, a nicely presented box. It really just adds that level of experience to it. Let's start by this orange box that you get on the side. Pull this out and just look at that. Just how fantastic is that? You just don't get that level of experience from anyone else really. Everything in here has a space. It's got its thermal paste in here. Each individual bolt and nut for mounting it is secured into place, and in here you have the mounting plates. The Nucleus is fully compatible with all modern mounting hardware. You've got the Intel 1150, 1151, 1155, 1156, 1200, 2011, 2011-3, 2066 and the brand new 1700 sockets. On AMD they do the AM4 and AM5, so you're not going to worry about not being able to mount it onto your system. Next we have the fans. I'm going to get a couple of these out because there's good reasoning for that. These are the EK Loop FPT fans. They are full pressure fans. They spin up to 2300 revolutions per minute. They are rated at 36 decibels when at full speed, which we will give a proper listen to when it's in the system later on in the video. They feel weighty for a fan. Some people might not see that as a good thing, but to me it just screams quality. Now, the reason I wanted to take two out is because when it comes to connectors for fans, it's very well known that I have a problem with cables, and the problem is there's just too many in a system, and you have to spend all that time cable tidying and getting everything looking nice, and cables just ruin the aesthetic of a system. So when it comes to fans, you often get two cables, especially on an RGB fan. You get two cables, one of them is the RGB cable and the other is the PWM cable. They're often quite long and cumbersome, and then you have to sort of connect them all together. So what EK have done to combat that is they've generated a system called OmniLink. That basically means that all the cables that you need are still in there, but rather than having them trail off in two separate cables per fan, they have them all built into this little system here. This little system here enables you to daisy chain the fans together with just one single connector per fan. This then obviously connects to it, and what you'll see is the connector is actually an 8-pin port, very similar to a CPU power port that you get on the motherboard. Once you've got them into place, all you need to do then is take your accessories box that we saw earlier, take out the cables to your 3-pin 5V DRGB header. DRGB is technically digital, it is technically addressable, so don't worry if you don't have a DRGB board connector on your board, and ARGB is the same thing as this. On the other end of this, you get the 4-pin PWM header connector, which plugs into your 4-pin PWM header on your motherboard. In the middle of these is the 8-pin female connector that plugs into your fans like this, and then everything is powered by this one single cable. The fans are all daisy chained along, and it's just a fantastic solution to a problem that shouldn't still be a problem nowadays. Here we have the AIO itself. It is a strikingly good looking AIO, all in white with some silver accents. It is a full aluminium radiator, very slim one too at 27mm. This panel on the side, there are two panels on either side, and they are machined aluminium, brushed aluminium, and they look fantastic. There is of course a larger part on the side here, and that is for the reservoir, for the little water tank that's in there, and then obviously it hides the fixings as well for the tubing, with a very high quality sleeving over that. The fittings have a nice aluminium edging on each side. They are of course completely able to move to any position that you need them to. The reasoning behind this protruding reservoir on the side is so that once the fans are in place, it butts up very nicely and becomes a full unit. Even with the fans on there, you've got a 27mm radiator and a 25mm fan. It's just built really nicely. There's no marks on any of the fins. It is just fantastically high quality, well machined piece of kit. Moving over to the CPU block. The CPU block houses the pump. The pump is rated at 31,000 revolutions per minute. Obviously it won't always spin at that speed, that's generally under high load. You can control it via the PWM header, which plugs into your motherboard, which can also control your fans as well, and it all sort of syncs in with that. You have got a good level of control, from between 20 to 100% control of the pump speed, so modifying the speed is no problem at all. Obviously once it's plugged in, it will sort itself out anyway, so there's not a great deal that you need to do, but for those that want a little bit more control, you can obviously apply it so that you don't actually need to do anything. What you do also get included in the box is another tube of thermal paste, so that if you're wanting to change it out, you can do so because you have an extra added tube of thermal paste, something that a lot of manufacturers don't do. What's more, with the pump block is that when you've got it mounted on your system, if you've got it mounted and the EK logo isn't in the right position, you can change it. It completely rotates in 90-degree increments so that you can basically get it the right way in your system at all times. Overall, the unboxing experience is fantastic. EK is primarily targeted at the more premium end, and when it comes to this unboxing experience, down to the little details like everything that you see here, and the foam injected moulding for everything in the box, down to everything that you see, it just feels premium. So as far as the unboxing experience, it certainly lives up to the standard. Now we're going to move on to getting the AIO installed into my system, which you will see here. and then we're going to do some testing.
So high I'm hypnotized. What's up is down, what's left is right. Chasing stars and holding you. I can't see the end, but we'll see it through.
Well, it took a little bit of doing to get it all in the system, but that's not down to the Nucleus itself. That's down to the fact that the case that I already had going for everything was a little bit too small, so I had to rebuild it all again. And you may notice that this is indeed a black case with a white AIO. I don't actually have any white cases in yet, so I will do that in a future video where you can see it in all its glory along a white setup. But actually, while it's in this case, it actually stands out really well. Now, there is obviously some other basic RGB fans going. They are not EK ones, they are, I believe they're Antec ones. But the fans themselves, obviously I'll overlay the video so you can see exactly what they look like. They look fantastic. They're so much brighter than the ones that are already in there. The lighting modes are fantastic, as is the CPU block itself. It's all in place, it looks fantastic. Installation was super simple, and all those extra little features that you get inside that box make installation super simple once again. When it comes to the AMD mounting, which is what I've used here, all you have to do is keep the existing backplate that's already on there, remove plastic mounting pieces, and then put the 4 screws into place. It comes with its own little tool that basically goes over there so that you can get it tight on there. Obviously don't do it any more than hand tight, because whilst the motherboards are quite resilient, then they are prone to cracking or damage if you over tighten them. Once you've got that in place, all you need to do then is put the bracket on top of the actual CPU block itself. That just simply screws into place, and then you can position it on top of your CPU socket. Do not push it all the way down then. What you need to do then is take the 4 screws and the 4 nailed screws that I showed you earlier with the springs, put them over the screws and slightly tighten them from different corners. Do not tighten them all in one corner in one go, because that's when you can start to cause an uneven finish on that, and also potentially cause damage to your CPU. What I do is start from one corner, go to the next corner, then to the next corner, and then the next corner, and repeat with a few turns until it is hand tight. Once it's all in, it is pretty much ready to go. All you need to do then is get all your cables, mount them through the back, plug everything in, and get it all sorted. This is all just controlled by the controller that's built into this case. The fact that you can do that is something that I've mentioned on the channel before, a fantastic feature. There are a lot of AIOs, not just AIOs, there are lots of RGB lighting suites for companies that make RGB fans that only work through their custom software, which is great, but sometimes the software is a little bit buggy and sometimes it just doesn't work. And this way you can just plug and play, get it into the controller and flick through the different modes. On the top of this one there is a simple button to flick through the different colours, as you can see here. It is nice, bright, surprisingly quiet. What I found is when I really pushed it at 100% on the speed on both the pump and the fans, you can hear it. It is quite loud. It's a little bit louder than most AIOs, but then you've also got 3 high pressure fans running at the same time. You've also got a 3100 revolution per minute pump in there running at full speed, so you're bound to hear something. Once you've got the glass panel on there, you don't really hear anything more than what you would normally hear from a system. It's certainly not off-putting by any means whatsoever. Performance of the EK Nucleus is fantastic. When it comes to people saying that it's probably one of the best AIOs on the market, I can agree with them, and I'll show you exactly why right now. So now let's get to the testing of the EK Nucleus CR360 and find out exactly how well it performed. These tests were performed using a Ryzen 5 2600 6-core 12-thread CPU on an ASUS Prime A320M with 16GB of RAM and an MSI 1070. All the benchmarks were performed equally to get the most honest representations and results in each test. The testing was done using 3 AIOs. It is worth noting, however, that due to stock issues I could only test the Nucleus against 2 other AIOs that were both 240mm AIOs. The results will of course naturally favour the Nucleus, but we will see just how much. The units are Cooler Master's Master Liquid Light 240mm, Be Quiet's Pure Loop 2 FX 240mm AIO, and of course the EK Nucleus CR360 360mm AIO. The first test was simply running at idle for 30 minutes with no activity, and both the 240s performed very respectably, but the Nucleus not only outperformed them naturally due to the bigger size and extra fan, but went to the lowest temperature I've seen on this setup of only 17 degrees with an equally impressive high of just 24 degrees. The next test was playing Fortnite at high settings. This pretty much carried on the theme of what we found in our first test. The CR360 offered vastly lower temperatures and kept it cool under high load too. For the next test I rendered a 10-minute 1080p video using Premiere Pro, and whilst the Cooler Master and Be Quiet performed very respectfully, the CR360 once again was in its own league with a 21 low and impressive 42 high. For the final test I set to render a 10-minute 4K video, once again using Premiere Pro, and the results are pretty much in keeping with the results we have found amongst previous tests. However, it is worth noting that the CR360 is nearly a staggering 10 degrees lower on both the low and the high, which is just incredible. So that pretty much wraps up this review of the EK Nucleus CR360 LUX-D White AIO. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but this is something that I've been wanting to get to test for a long time because I've seen a lot of reviews done by a lot of reputable people stating that this is probably one of, if not the best AIO on the market, and I can see why. The results were outstanding. Yes, the equipment tested wasn't exactly high end compared to some, but this is probably something more achievable on line of what most people would have. Obviously the results were going to be a bit biased towards the EK due to the fact that it had an extra fan. Obviously that you would expect maybe a couple of degrees difference here and there, but what we found is a completely different result. The results were just simply in a league of their own. They were unbelievably cooler, up to 10 degrees in the final test when we did it against the 4K videos, which is just mind-blowing, showing that not only is the extra fan a bias, it also shows that the performance of the EK Nucleus CR360 certainly lives up to its name. This is something I really enjoyed working with. The whole unboxing experience was an absolute delight, but I strongly believe that the unboxing experience is often just as important as the product itself, and EK have certainly delivered on that. Just adding those extra little touches such as the fold out book with the laser cut foam holding each and every single part in its own place, and obviously the manual in its own little book, the injection moulded foam in the actual box itself holding everything into place, down to the little details like the daisy chain on the fans, allowing to lose extra cable. When it came to setting this up, that really made a difference. I was able to close the back perfectly. Cable management was super easy. As you can see, you can barely see anything in the actual case on the front, and that is just fantastic, and it is all down to that extra little detail of that daisy chain system. When it comes to sound, obviously it is a little bit louder than most AIOs, but it also performs a little bit extra, so I think it's certainly worth it. Now when I say it is a little bit louder, it's not noticeably louder unless you was really sticking your ear against it. I know that's a bit of a strange thing for me to say because I am indeed deaf, but when I've got my hearing aids in, I can actually generally hear the low frequency hum of fans more than what an average person would. And this one, it doesn't really get in the way of anything. You can't really notice it, so it's not something I would particularly worry about. Overall, I am super impressed with this, and super impressed with EK unboxing experience and the product experience as a whole, and hopefully Dave will be sending some more stuff for me to review in the near future. You can get yourself a EK Nucleus CR360 or the 240 variant. They do it in black as well, and they also do a non-RGB version, so if you don't want an RGB setup, you can of course buy one, and they will actually be a little bit cheaper. These retail for between £150 to £180. At the moment, don't know how long it's going to last whilst this video's out, but at the moment you can pick them up for about £130 on Black Friday deals. But expect to pay between £150 and maybe £160 when it's not in the deals. Is it worth it? Yes, it's slightly more expensive than other AIOs. You can certainly get a 360mm AIO for probably half the price with RGB, but it's certainly not going to perform as well as this. If you're bothered about performance, then this is certainly something to look for when buying it. I will of course, as always, leave a link in the description below as to where you can get your hands on a CR360 for yourself, whether it be white or black. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of this AIO. Is it something that you would look at? Is that extra price point something that's going to put you off? Or is the fact that it's such a high performer going to swing you in the right way to get yourself one of these? Let me know in the comments. Whilst you're down there, don't forget to click like, and if you haven't already, click subscribe because it helps the channel grow. And that's pretty much it from me. I've been Gadget Joe. This has been the EK Nucleus CR360 in white AIO. And until next time, goodbye. These are the EK. Give you EK. The top of the CPU. No. Stop. Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we've got a new